Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're tuning in right now, there's a good chance you're feeling that very familiar, completely overwhelming exam stress creeping up on you. You're probably staring down this massive syllabus, all about the birth of a nation in 1947, right? Well, take a deep breath, we've got this. Today, we are breaking down the early problems of Pakistan, and we're going to look at exactly how a newly formed state managed to survive against what were, quite literally, impossible odds. Oh, and a quick tip. I'd highly recommend turning your subtitles on for this one so you can catch all the specific spellings, dates, and testable statistics I'm going to be throwing your way. Let's get into it. Okay, so here is our game plan. We're going to chop this huge topic into 6 easy-to-digest modules: state building and refugees, the financial threat, military and Kashmir, the Indus water dispute, economy and princely states, and finally a quick revision summary. Honestly, if you structure your study notes just like this, pulling the info back out during your exam is going to be a breeze. All right, let's jump right into Module 1, State Building and the Refugee Crisis, specifically the massive administrative vacuum. Imagine trying to run a brand new country without a proper capital city. That was the reality. When Karachi was chosen as the first capital, it was just a quiet provincial city. It was entirely ill-equipped to be the nerve center of a whole nation. There were no grand, sweeping government buildings. Instead, the central government was literally operating out of canvas tents and temporary army barracks. And it gets crazier. They lacked the most basic stuff. We're talking no desks, no chairs, no typewriters. They didn't even have paper. Officials had to use old newspapers to write on, and get this, they pinned documents together using thorn trees because they didn't have any paper clips. Plus, they were dealing with a massive shortage of trained staff since most of the experienced civil servants from British India had opted to stay behind in India. Now, as if building a government in a tent wasn't hard enough, partition triggered one of the largest mass migrations in human history. You're definitely going to want to memorize these stats. So, radical militant groups sparked this devastating communal violence, which forced massive foot convoys across the borders. These convoys were known as kafilas. Definitely flag that term for some easy points. The numbers here are just staggering. 6.6 million Muslims fled their homes in India for Pakistan, while about 5.5 million Hindus and Sikhs fled Pakistan for India. Tragically, around 500,000 people either died or were abducted during these incredibly dangerous journeys. And when those 6.6 million destitute refugees finally arrived in Pakistan, just trying to provide them with food, water, and shelter in makeshift tent cities almost completely broke the fragile new state. Moving right along to Module 2, the financial threat. So, how on earth do you pay for a massive refugee crisis? Well, you don't. Especially if you're practically bankrupt on day one. When British India was divided, the actual cash sitting in the Reserve Bank of India had to be split up too. India initially offered to give Pakistan a measly 5% of the cash. Pakistan, understandably, pushed for 20%. It turned into a massive tug-of-war. So how did it end? British mediators had to step in, and they finally got both sides to agree on a 17.5% share for Pakistan. And write this number down, guys, because examiners love this one. That 17.5% equaled exactly 750 million rupees. Back then, that was an absolute fortune, and Pakistan desperately needed it just to set up the government and pay its workers. But they didn't actually get it right away. India's Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru blocked the payment. He argued that if they handed over the cash, Pakistan would just use it to buy weapons for the newly erupted war over Kashmir. So out of the promised 750 million, India only released 200 million rupees and basically froze the rust. So here's a pop quiz for you, and this is a direct exam question you should absolutely be ready for. How exactly did Pakistan survive this initial financial bankruptcy? Think about it. They are 550 million rupees short, and to make things even worse, the wealthy Nizam of Hyderabad tried to send Pakistan a 1 million rupee loan to help out, but India blocked that check too because the funds were sitting in Indian banks. So really, how did the state stay afloat? The answer is actually pretty amazing. The private sector stepped in to rescue the government. 2 very prominent Muslim businessmen completely saved the day: industrialist Sir Adamji Haji Dawood and Muhammad Ali Habib, who founded Habib Bank. On Adamji's guarantee, Muhammad Ali Habib famously handed a blank check over to Quaid-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He basically told the state to write down whatever amount it needed to keep the government running during those incredibly fragile first few weeks. A real game changer. All right, on to Module 3, Military and Kashmir. Let's look at how that intense financial disparity we just talked about was perfectly mirrored by a highly unequal military split. Just like the money, the British Indian Army's military assets had to be divided up. Pakistan was legally promised around 36% of the military stores. That was supposed to be about 165,000 tons of equipment. But the reality? Brutal. Pakistan ended up receiving a paltry 47 tons. For the Air Force, they were promised an entire fleet of planes, but received exactly one operational aircraft. Just one. And this leads us to a catastrophic ammunition crisis. You see, all 16 of the British military's ammunition and gun factories were physically located inside India's borders. When the first 3 trains, which were supposed to deliver 60,000 tons of ammo, finally arrived in Pakistan, the soldiers opened the crates and found nothing but rocks, bricks, and scrap iron. You literally can't make this stuff up. And this massive vulnerability was made so much worse because the British Supreme Commander, Field Marshal Auchinleck, actually resisted dividing up the unified army, which caused huge delays and left Pakistan's forces totally disorganized. Now, it was right at this deeply vulnerable moment that the Kashmir crisis exploded. Examiners love a good timeline, so let's walk through the exact chronological chain of events here. Kashmir had a Muslim-majority population, but a Hindu Maharaja named Hari Singh, and he was hesitating on whether to join India or Pakistan. The whole thing kicked off with the Poonch Revolt. Local Muslims revolted against the Maharaja's incredibly heavy taxes and were met with a horrific massacre by his forces. When news of this reached Pakistan's tribal areas, furious Pashtun tribesmen began a massive march toward Kashmir on October 22, 1947. This rapid advance completely terrified the Maharaja. He fled to India in late October, signed a paper joining India, and that immediately prompted Indian troops to be airlifted into the region. But here is a great fact to drop in your essays. Behind the scenes of this tribal march was something called Operation Venus. Write that down. It was a highly secret Pakistani military operation led by Major General Akbar Khan, who was actually operating under the pen name General Tariq. To give the tribesmen some tactical direction, regular Pakistani army officers disguised themselves so they could secretly supervise the fighters. What's really wild is that even Quaid-e-Azam was kept in the dark about this official backing at first. Why? Because British officers still commanded both armies. If the British found out, they'd pull their officers out immediately, leaving Pakistan with zero defense. Okay, shifting gears to geography with Module 4, the Indus Water Dispute. Get ready to memorize a very important cause and effect chain about Pakistan's agricultural lifeline. So, Pakistan's economy relies super heavily on the Indus River system. But the border partition left the crucial headworks, which are the dams that control the flow of canal water, like Firozpur, sitting inside Indian territory. In April 1948, India suddenly, without any warning, shut off the water flowing from the Ravi and Sutlej rivers into Pakistan's canals. Millions of acres of farmland just dried up overnight. It created an immediate, catastrophic threat of famine. This proved a terrifying reality. India could effectively starve Pakistan without firing a single bullet. You'll want to lock this table into your memory for the exams. This water dispute raged on for over a decade. Finally, the World Bank stepped in and brokered the Indus Water Treaty in 1960, which permanently resolved the issue. Here's how it shook out. India got the 3 eastern rivers, Ravi, Sutlej, and Beas. Pakistan was allocated the 3 western rivers, Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab. But to survive losing those eastern rivers, Pakistan had to go on a massive building spree, constructing huge new dams and link canals. We are almost at the finish line. Here is Module 5, Economy and Princely States. The key takeaway here is understanding just how bare bones the economic infrastructure was when Pakistan started out, compounded by some intense political turf wars. Check this out. Out of the 961 major factories in British India, Pakistan received exactly 34. Just let that sink in for a second. Barely 3.5%. Pakistan was growing all this raw cotton, but India had kept almost all the textile mills needed to actually process it. And the banking sector? Totally devastated. West Pakistan initially had 487 bank branches, but because the banking industry was overwhelmingly owned by Hindus who moved their capital to India during partition, the number of active branches plummeted to a dismal 69. Now pay super close attention here. This next point is what I like to call the examiner's trap. It's a classic essay question. You are very often asked to compare the contrasting political logic that was applied to different princely states, specifically looking at Junagadh versus Kashmir. The contrast here is super important to outline neutrally in your exams. Junagahar was a state with a Muslim ruler, but it had a Hindu majority population. The ruler there chose to join Pakistan, and Jinnah accepted. In response, India sent its military to encircle Junagadh, cut off its supplies, and forcefully absorbed it. India's argument was that the Hindu majority population should dictate the state's destiny. Yet over in Kashmir, where there was a Hindu ruler but a Muslim majority population, India applied a different logic. There, they accepted the ruler's choice to join India and use military force to defend that specific claim. Being able to clearly explain these two contrasting approaches is an absolute must for an A+ essay. Okay, you made it to Module 6, our revision summary. Let's lock in everything we just talked about with a rapid-fire cheat sheet. Seriously, take a screenshot of this slide right now. These are the hard, undeniable facts you need to deploy as evidence in your writing. You've got the 17.5% financial deal, that's 750 million rupees, blocked by India. You've got the crazy military deficit, 165,000 tons promised, but only 47 tons received. The critical date of October 22, 1947, marking the Pashtun March on Kashmir, supported by the secret Operation Venus led by General Akbar Khan. The 1960 Indus Water Treaty handled by the World Bank. And of course, that staggering industrial stat, inheriting just 34 factories out of 961. We have covered a ton of ground today, but I want to leave you with this final thought as you close your notebooks. If a brand new state can survive literal bankruptcy, having basically zero military equipment, facing a devastating water blockade that threatens starvation, and managing a traumatic influx of 6.6 million refugees, all within its first 100 days, what exactly makes a nation unbreakable? It is a truly fascinating question of resilience to ponder. Best of luck with your revision, study hard, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.